Hey everybody, welcome back to Magic Orthodoxy. My name's David and this is a magic review. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today, wow, what a big one, right? What a big one. So many of you have been asking me when I was gonna review this, and I kept saying, oh my gosh, you don't realize how many hours and hours and hours of video I have to watch. This is entirely video driven. I know there's a box. I was excited to open the box. I was excited to see what was inside the box. But as you're gonna see in a little bit, the box is really full of just collector's items. They're not props really or gimmicks that have much to do with the project. This is an entire video-driven tutorial, masterclass, college level seminar, graduate, get your doctorate degree in how to control minds. Now, I realize I did another review for Peter Turner, Ellusionist, Kickstarter, that was how to read minds, right? Remember that? There was the how to read minds. So this is not that. There's no crossover, okay? There's no crossover between the two. This is how to control minds. All right, so the how to control minds kit. What is it? Let's say you go down to Ellusionist.com and you drop $150. What can you expect? Well, it is a video-driven project, okay? What you are getting is 10 core tricks, all right? 10 core effects. And they're really not like little one-offs, they're not little spin-off, like one-time hit tricks. They are full presentational tricks, right? They're large. Each one of these pieces is a large piece, okay? And the entire project is done through video. Yes, you are getting a box, we're gonna talk about that, but this is all video driven, which means you are going to sit through hours and hours and hours of project to get to everything. So can I say, is it what I thought? No, it's not what I thought. I excitedly got it in the mail. I opened it up and I opened the box and I was like, oh, these aren't props. I was fully expecting props, just like how we got in the How to Read Minds kit, but in the How to Control Minds kit, the things that come in the box are really collector's items. There's no discussion in the videos about anything in the box other than the billets, okay? So just really quickly, just so we can go over it, what do you get? What's in the box? You're getting a hard-shelled box with a lid, right? It's got lots of beautiful graphics on it. It is a beautiful companion piece to the first box. I mean, if you have the other box, they go together nicely. But like I said, inside it's collector's items. So you're gonna getting a metal engraved gold pen. It's got some etchings in it. You're gonna get 2 dice, and I say the dice goes along with the documentary. It does, but there's no trick involved with this. You will get a marked deck of some sort. I got the Cross Keys deck in mine. You're gonna get a stack of billets, pretty much just like you did with the first box set, and you'll get a collector's book. It has a little bit about the history of the project. You'll also get a USB key, literally, it's a key, right? And all the videos will be on that. All right, so the videos, that's really where we have to spend the bulk of this review. Now, let me just start by saying if you have some of his other projects, and most notably I would say this is similar to Bigger Fish. If you have Bigger Fish, or if you've seen that project, I would say this is a lot like that, especially there's crossover with some of the tricks. Some of the tricks that he does in Bigger Fish that you were like, oh wait, is he gonna teach us that? And he didn't? And you're like, oh wow, he didn't teach us that effect. It's taught here, okay? So really anything that you felt didn't get covered in Bigger Fish, it's getting covered here. And it's recorded a little bit like Bigger Fish. You know, I don't think Peter is interested in filming a standard magic video. You know, if you think you're gonna stick the disc in and it's gonna be, Pete with an introduction and he says, this is how to control minds. And then he goes into some, live action shot, and then it's back at the studio, and then Pete breaks down what's in the box, and he goes over the trick, and you learn the whole thing in 30 minutes. That's not how Pete works. That is not how his videos go, and this is no exception. So this is going to be done almost as an interview, or a documentary would be filmed. It's much more organic, much more free-flowing. Let me just kind of break all of it. All right, so the first part is called Dice Man. It's an 1.5-hour documentary. So this is where all your performances are, okay? So you need to kind of watch this first. I know you want to jump into the tricks, and the documentary, could feel a little slow because, you're excited and you want to get at all the stuff, but you kind of have to go on this journey with Peter and learn how the whole project comes together. And he does this kind of back and forth with a book called The Dice Man that he is kind of taking this approach. And like I said, this is where all the performances are. He's not interested in making a typical magic video. This feels more like a show. This feels more like something that you would sit down and watch on TV. And probably I would suggest, if you can mirror cast it to your television, that might be the best way to watch it. Because there's a story here. And I think Peter is more interested in grounding his teaching in something that's real. Something that's discussion-based, something that's more organic. And so you sit through that. You sit through that 1.5 hours. Then you're going to move into the explanations. And then all the explanations are kind of broken down into these 25-minute vignettes. And so you'll get 10 of them. The first trick is called the try principle. And let me also just say, he's talking to Mark in every single one of these discussions. So Mark sits down with him in every single video. And so Mark ends up becoming the voice of you in case Peter doesn't cover everything. Mark's there to kind of say, well, what about this? But Mark is also a brilliant mentalist in his own right. And so he has a lot to offer as far as advice too. The try principle is something that we saw in Bigger Fish. You get a spectator to try to say their name, and they can't do it. They can't do it. Or you hold your hand out, and there's a pen sitting there, and you tell them to try to lift the pen off your hand, and they can't do it. And let me just preface all of these explanations by saying this is pseudo-hypnosis. Okay, it's not real hypnosis. Nobody's being hypnotized. Peter's not going to teach you how to hypnotize anyone, but it's going to give the illusion that you're hypnotizing people, not necessarily to the person you're doing it to, but to everyone who's watching. Second trick is called the hand stick, and it's basically just like it sounds. You have a flat surface table, spectator puts their hand down on it, and they will try to lift their hand off the table, and they won't be able to. Third trick is called Robin Hood. This is another trick we saw over on Bigger Fish. It's a simple trick where you approach somebody on the street, and you convince them for them to give you all their property. So they give you their wallet, their cell phone, everything in their pockets, their watch, and then you walk through a little mentalism routine with them, and then you remind them, hey, did you realize that you gave me everything that was in your pockets and I'm a total stranger? And so it's a nice little convincer that you really do have the powers of persuasion. The fourth trick kind of goes along with the hand stick principle, and it's called friction. And this is where they'll put their hand down on the table, and you stick a deck of cards in front of it, and they'll try to push the deck of cards with their hand, but they won't be able to. It'll be like the deck of cards is stuck to the table and they won't be able to push it. Then there's Midas touch, and this is Peter's version of touching on Hoy. And so this is done for a crowd of people. You have one person that you are invisibly touching. You have a person in the crowd that you are touching, and the person who's got their eyes closed, who's far away from you, can feel your touches. Then the sixth trick is called ambidextrous. You ask a person what their dominant writing hand is, and they tell you. And then you are able to magically hypnotize them and switch their writing hands. And so now they've gone from being able to always be right-handed to now they'll always be left-handed. And then you leave them in that state so that when they come to, they will now forever write with the other hand, and they'll be convinced that that's the way it's always been. The seventh trick is called insurance. And it's an idea where the spectator has a thought and you have a thought, and you switch those thoughts, and the spectator now has the thought that you had, and they'll be forever convinced that it was their own thought. The eighth video is about inductions, and that's where Pete's going to talk about all the different ways you would make it look like you are putting somebody into a trance. He's going to talk about all the different ways that you could create the illusion that you have the power to hypnotize. And he's going to talk about how you can actually make it look like real hypnosis. He's going to do it, and Pete does it fast, right? He's not a slow person. He does this all fast. He does this all very gracefully. This is a huge part of the project. The last trick is called the force push, or the force, and it's really it's really very Star Wars-y. You have a person up on stage with you, or off to the side, and you're going to put them under, and then you're going to step back from them, and you're going to kind of wait until you feel it, and then you're just going to move your hand forward like you're almost pushing air at them, and they're going to feel it, and you're going to knock them over, and people are going to catch them, really. I mean, they're going to knock them over, and you don't ever touch them, and the spectator will even believe that they felt it. So that one's a really cool one. Then you're also going to get another file that's all the director's cut performances. So any performances that got left on the cutting room floor, or got chopped up and edited, he's going to put all of that together into another almost hour-long documentary for you. Then, if that weren't enough, there's 12 jam session files. So again, he's going to go back through everything that was taught, just to make sure that no stone was left uncovered. And he's going to sit down again with Mark, and they're going to hash everything out once again. So maybe you want to watch, all the tricks first, and then watch the jam sessions. Or let's say, you watch the try principle video first. You could go over then and watch the try principle jam session right after, and kind of have them, bookend each other. That's a good way to do it too. But like I said, there's 12 of those videos, and there's even more tips, more suggestions, more gems, more secrets in there. Let me just take this opportunity to say, Peter Turner is so generous with his material, not just here, but always. Always. If he gives you a PDF, it's 20 pages long, right? If he gives you a video, it's hours and hours and hours. If he gives you a book, he's unloaded everything he could possibly think of. Pete is not interested in teaching you for 15 minutes and sending you on your way. Peter wants to make sure that if he were there in the room with you, you would leave that session with him knowing that he gave you as much as he possibly could. When Peter's ready to teach, when he's crafted something to the point where he's ready to tell you, again, no stone left unturned. So generous with his teaching. All right, so what's my takeaway? My takeaway is this kind of felt a lot like freeform mentalism. If you ever got that DVD set long time back from Peter, it's kind of where we all started coining the phrase propless mentalism. And I will have to admit, when I first got freeform mentalism, I was so excited to watch it, and then I was so disappointed because I realized the amount of practice I would have to put into it. And I think that's really where some disappointment comes with people who buy Peter's work, is we expect it to be like everything else in the world, where you buy a trick and you just watch the video and you learn it and then you can go do it. And this, I think freeform mentalism was one of my very first introductions to Peter. And he really had to grow on me because he wasn't a teacher like every other teacher. And I was expecting, I was going to watch this video and I was going to immediately learn how to do this stuff. That is not how this works. Everything on this project is propless, okay? It's all propless. You don't need to do anything except memorize his scripting. I can't stress that enough. You have to memorize his scripting for every single trick. You can't just make up your own words, okay? You have to memorize his scripting. You have to memorize even down to like his body movement, how he opens his hands, closes his hands, when he snaps, when he looks, when he makes eye contact, when he looks down. Yes, you could mirror this, but that would take practice. That's where the practice comes in. The scripting in this, the gestures in this, these are the things that you have to memorize, okay? It's not math, right? It's not double lifts. It's not any rough and smooth. There's nothing like that, right? You're doing all of this with your words and with your body. You're going to memorize scripts, number one. You're also going to be brave to pull these off because you're going to convince yourself that you can do this. And that's the thing. You're going to watch these through and you're going to think, I can't do this. Only Peter could do this, right? You're going to say, this is only magic that Peter could do. But that's not true. You memorize the scripts and then you have the bravery to pull it off. Convince yourself that you can do this. And then you also have to be the loudest voice in the room. Okay, this is not timid magic. You need to command the room. You need to command the room and put yourself into the position that says, I am the magician. I am the entertainer. Right now, everyone's focused on me, so I will put people where I need them. You know, I will, you know, hold people's hands or put my finger against their forehead, or you know, I'm not going to feel weird about, you know, blowing in someone's face or getting someone to write something down on a billet. You're the entertainer. You're the entertainer. Command the room. Okay? Command the room. Take charge. Okay? You have to have that kind of presence, I think, would really help. Positives. Positives. What are the positives of this? Learning this would make you feel like you're the real deal. You would feel like the real deal. I don't know how Peter walks around with any sort of humility. If I were Peter, I would be so convinced that I was an actual wizard. So this is going to make you feel like a wizard, and people will actually, they would be convinced that you were a wizard, because really, what is there to inspect, right? You're doing this all propless. You're doing this all in real time in the real world. Negatives. Let's talk about negatives. There were no props. I was expecting props like I did with the first kit, and there was no props. Let me tell you what I'm learning about Peter, because I probably have almost everything he's ever released. Okay? For Peter, your spectator is the prop. So whatever spectator that you're using at that moment to do the trick, they become your marked deck. They become that gaff, okay? They become the prop. You are taking a person in a group of people and saying, let me do this with you. And they become the trick that helps you. Does that make sense? There's very few opportunities in this where Peter's just doing something one-on-one. I would almost say there probably isn't any. This isn't really one-on-one magic. You know, with most props, you know, like a Svengali deck or an invisible deck or invisible thread, you know, you could do a trick for one person, just one person, and they would be blown away. In this, Peter works a lot on turning the spectator into something that you can use. Sure, they feel like magic has happened. They feel like there's an experience there, of course, but the experience that the audience is seeing is completely different. Okay? You are turning someone into a prop, and he's really performing for everyone else in the room just as much. You know, I think so often people think, oh, I want to be next, right? I want him to do a trick with me next. And they don't feel like they were a part of the trick. But with Peter's magic, I think everyone in the room feels like they were a part of it. Like I said, this is not one-on-one magic. This is stage magic. You know, if you were, going to some sort of college event and they hired a hypnotist to come up on stage, it's that kind of event. You are doing a hypnosis show, but you are bringing it down into a living room setting. You are bringing it down into a party setting or a nightclub or a corporate event, okay? Peter is doing real hypnosis-style stage magic that you would do for crowds, but on a small scale. Why did I put all that in the negative section? Because, it really sounded like I was, chatting him up and saying positive things. I say that to say that it's not for everyone. It is not for everyone, okay? I know some people think that mentalism is self-working and that it's easy because you don't need anything. It's just words. You just say this and do this and you blow a bunch of smoke and bam, people think you can read minds. I would almost argue that mentalism is more work It's more work because there's more preparation on your end. There's more practice on your end. There's more memorization on your end. And if you're still the magician that just wants to get something quick and learn it in 20 minutes and go out and perform it that night, then I would say, no, this isn't for you. You're not ready for this. You know, and I admit, when I first bought Freeform Mentalism a long time back, that's where I was. That's where I was in my routining. That's where I was in my tricks. And it took me a long time to come around to being able to truly appreciate what Peter does, number one, and then number two, what he offers when he teaches. And so, yeah, this is not self-working. I know the ad copy makes it sound like you're going to do this, you know, tonight, and you're going to be the hit of a party. You will be, but you're going to put a lot of work into this. You are. When you watch these videos, stuff is going to fly right by, and you're going to miss it, and you're going to have to go back and watch it again. Really, unless you're really good at taking copious notes while you watch. And that's what I would suggest. Have a Word document open and type down his scripts as he says them. There is nothing thrown away in this, okay? Every single one of those things that seems to drop on the floor, hit the pause button, rewind, type it out. You want to memorize these scripts to be able to do these tricks. Wow, I'm looking down at my counter and I've recorded for almost 20 minutes, and I know I gotta wrap this up. So I hope that gives you an idea about what the kit's like. When I did the Kickstarter, I got a bunch of extra stuff too. I got the book test, I got the mind control, the mind games download. I got that too. So we're gonna review that. Still getting through that as well. But I wanted to get this out there so that you could fully understand the project. All right, that's everything I can say about the project. Wow, we covered a lot, right? We covered a lot. Hope you stuck with me. Thanks for watching. I bought this myself from Kickstarter. I backed this myself. So I would highly recommend, if this is something you're interested in, that you would head on down to Ellusionist.com. I want to thank Peter Turner and Ellusionist for all the hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of editing and filming they must have done for this. It was an incredible ride. Thanks, guys. I'll see you next time. Bye.